Hello there. This is your Futurist project introduction. It is either Monday, the 4th of March, or Tuesday, the 5th, depending on when you are watching this. And this project is due at the end of March, on the last school day of March. It also coincidentally is the last day of school before spring break. So let's get into this and kind of see what this looks like. There is your March. You can tell that you will have several different sort of L2K things to juggle during this time frame. So again, make sure you're using that class time really well and make sure you're planning ahead for all of these due dates. Here is your April after you come back from spring break. And here is your May for when you're going to take it down to the home stretch and successfully complete freshman L2K. So we're excited for that for you guys. We have 11 assignments this semester, as you know. You have now done 4 of them, or potentially a couple of you are still working on that college study part 2 speech. But you're 4 out of the 11 ways done. A couple of these are still in progress here. You know that you've got your college study part 3. You're being assigned your Futurist right now. Don't forget about that website that's coming up. But, we're about a third of the way through the grading component of this semester. So I know Miss Snow, Miss West, and I all want to have an amazing 11 weeks with you guys and have you guys feel like you've had a tremendous amount of growth and feeling really, really good about your future in Legacy 2000. So this Futurist project, the purpose is 3 things. We want to continue to foster your collaborative and group dynamic skills so that you know how to work with others. We want you to actually really bump up your outside of the box and further development like thinking. And we want you to be able to design potential solutions to roadblocks as they arise. So as you're doing this project, you're going to have a whole bunch of roadblocks that come up. Your job is to address them as they come up. All right. So you probably were handed this today in class. This is the Futurist project explanation. I'm not going to read this whole thing to you, but you definitely should read through this so you get the big idea. Down there at the bottom in red, these are not due dates, but these are things that you should consider to be due dates down there on number 3 and 4, just to keep you sort of on the benchmark idea of you're heading in the right direction at the right timeline. And so you can see from number 1 down there, it's like basically essentially a large further development taken to the extreme. You're looking for out there and yeah, right ideas. So let's talk about those. First step to doing this project is to have that big idea. It's that yeah, right, or wow, that's different idea. The idea that if you told it to somebody, they would say, oh my gosh, that's crazy, right? We get a lot of people addressing climate change on this, and you can. You've watched the Space Sunshield video at this point. Sometimes that puts the climate change idea into everybody's head, and that's fine, but you do not have to do just climate change. We want you to think it through and thoroughly explain what the idea is that you guys have had as a team. We want you to research possible science-based solutions that will make it work. We want you to think of the roadblocks. We want you to address them and then say what's next. So basically, this is a further development in PowerPoint form. So the task is to create a standalone PowerPoint or Google Slides. You're going to design or develop that concept or vision of the future. It must be STEM related. You're going to address those bullets, and then you're going to talk about what will happen next and what's the implications. Now, I want to talk really quickly about the standalone nature of this. That means that these PowerPoints that you create, these Google Slides, are not going to be speech style. So they should be more text heavy than some of the speech ones that you have done in the past. Here's the format of it. There is a little bit of flexibility to this, but this is the general guideline for how we want the presentation to be set up and how many slides long it should be. And so you need to have as much as possible following these guidelines in order to get your full credit on these things. Again, you can pause the video here. You can come back to this presentation that's been posted by your teacher to get this. We will not insult your intelligence by reading you every word on here. So some details. You need to have links in your PowerPoint or in your Google Slides. These links need to link from the table of contents to all other slides. That means at any point in the presentation, I should be able to find a link that links back to the table of contents and should be able to go on your table of contents and link to any of the slides that that table of content references. Okay, they need to be consistent and easy to find. You can see how I have that link icon in the upper right-hand corner. That would be something like that. That will be in a consistent, easy to find place on all of your slides so that we know where to find it. You also need to have two external links. These are things that are working and meaningful exterior links that will take the reader to somewhere else. So it could be something that is like a diagram, a website, an explanatory GIF or animation of something that's going on. Those would actually link outside of your presentation into some sort of web-based application. Make sure that you have some animations that are in there and that they are used well. They're just for annoying purposes. They're actually to bring something to the content. So you don't want to have ones that are distracting. They make sure they have about your reasons and think about your subtopics and how they will relate to that. You need to have text fonts and backgrounds, images that are used well. So you're thinking about being, again, purposeful. You need to have your background should be easy to read over, but still appealing and tied to the topic. So avoid too much negative space. So here's the rubric on the backside of what your teacher handed you. And we're looking for balance here. So there's two aspects to this rubric. You're basically going to get 8 scores and get the average of these 8 scores. The left side of it is all about content, and the right side of it is all about aesthetics. So we are trying to get you guys to balance your high-level STEM content with also something in which the content is delivered through a professional and well-structured aesthetic medium. So the content side are these 4 things. You have to have a creative, unique, and new idea. It has to be backed up and supported by scientific evidence and research. It has to have implications for society that are thoroughly discussed. And it has to have multiple pitfalls and roadblocks, both scientific and societal ones that have been identified and discussed. And so you'll get more of this from your teacher as the class goes on, but those are the 4 big things that you're getting graded on for the content. If you go to the aesthetic side, we're looking at making sure that the organization is logical and easy to follow, right? That it actually makes sense. It flows in a way that aids the understanding of the reader. You need to have the chosen backgrounds and fonts are appropriate as well as not distracting. So make sure you can read, make sure it's still appealing, all of those sorts of things. The style of the presentation enhances the information. So what you're thinking is, I could just write this in a paper, but since I have something like a PowerPoint presentation where I can use animations and I can use pictures and I can use diagrams and all these bells and whistles, how can you actually use this new medium rather than just writing a boring paper to enhance the information? And overall, is it professionally done? And does it show attention to detail and time spent? Does it look like you did this presentation over the course of several weeks, or does it look like you did it at the last minute? Is it aesthetically pleasing? Here is just a quick screenshot of one in which we felt like there was some decent attention to detail, decent attention to aesthetics. It's consistent throughout the project. It's also got some pictures and some diagrams that bring things to the party. It's not the best one ever, but it does at least show time invested and some good aesthetic properties. You can also see that it's relatively text heavy. You need to have a decent amount of writing in your slides. All right, we thought that this one was pretty. Here's one that we didn't think was as good. This was one that was Planet Funnel. You can ask us about this one-on-one, but this one you can see is just aesthetically not as pleasing, right? There is a decent amount of text, but the diagrams are not bringing as much to the party. Some slides don't even have any information other than just text, and it was kind of a big ew. If you actually look at some of the content here, it's also not that great. And so here's the rubric for formatting guidelines and what you need to do as far as what slides go where. So again, on the left-hand side there, that's where we want you to be thinking about what slides go where and what the content is. You can have a little bit of flexibility around slides 13 and 14 if you need extra slides for glossary and references, but we'd really like those first 12 to be pretty tight. Over on the right-hand side is your usual favorite thing, the formatting guidelines. And again, we will not insult your intelligence by reading those to you. You can read those on your own and use those as a group checklist to make sure that you have all of that stuff. So the groups, oh yeah, they're not groups, they're teams. These are going to be tight teams of people all working towards a common goal. They're going to be randomized. We're going to tell you who you are working with later this week. Your job is between now and that day where you find out who you are working with to have something to bring to the first team meeting. That could be a completely off the top of your head brainstormed idea, but think about it in advance so that you can actually contribute something and start off on a good foot with your new team. So here's some idea advice. This is hitting the sweet spot. We want you to think big, but not so big that it cannot even be looked into, right? It has to have something that is at least somewhat potentially reasonable and realistic. You have to find something that you can actually do research into. You don't have to find the exact idea because it's supposed to be new. So it shouldn't be something that you can just Google. You should be able to research the science concepts that are underpinning your idea, not your idea, because your idea is new. So we would really advise you not to just Google cool futuristic science ideas or something like that, because we've seen all of those. So just trust us. They've been done before and they're usually not that great. We want something that's truly from your imagination. So we're not looking for space elevators here. That's not a new idea. We're not looking for underwater cities. That's not a new idea. We're not looking for maglev trains. That's not a new idea. And those have been done by groups before. Okay, so don't be afraid to be flexible and let your idea evolve. This is a little bit of pacing advice here. This would be like the 4 weeks basically that you have to work on it. And this is how we think that you would be staying on target and when the project ends up actually being due. So if you could have this done in like 2.5 weeks, that means you could take that entire last week to just tweak it and make it better and make it prettier and make sure you hit all your formatting guidelines for it. So you watched the Sunshield video. We want to know what you thought about it. We're going to finish it in class on Wednesday. All right. We hope that everything's going well for you, and we'll do a lot more Q&A about this in class. Thank you so much.